Hey, it's MK. This is my review for Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 2. Now, this episode really feels like we're getting into the real storyline of Season 2, and we're actually getting ahead with these lines that we had last time. Now, lots of people were quite disappointed with Episode 1 because it didn't really match the hype that it was getting before the season started. Plus, the comparison from the last two episodes we had in Season 4 to that one was quite a lot. Like, we had the Battle of the Wall and Tyrion killing his father and a whole bunch of action and impact, amazingness. So it was pretty hard for a season premiere just to kind of match that intensity straight off the bat. So it was kind of setting the stage for what Season 5 will become later on. So for me, Episode 2 was just that proof that this season will match that hype that it deserved. It just will take a little bit of time, and the storyline is going to be absolutely epic, with a ton of changes, a ton of amazing new stuff, and some really good character development. So we started this episode how we left off at the end of Season 4 with Arya's storyline. Personally myself, I was really interested to see how they changed or morphed Arya's storyline in the show, because I thought it would be a little bit different. But it seems to myself there's only been a few minor changes with the Kindly Man and Jack and Hagar and stuff like that, and maybe the Wafer bit, and then it will be generally just the same kind of storyline we know so far in the books. We don't know yet if Winds of Winter will take in a different direction from the show, but I hope not. I really like the storyline of Arya to be very true to what George R. R. Martin wanted her to get. Personally, I like how Arya kind of mocked the myth about the Titan at first, because she's not really a religious person. She came out from the north, where she had a bit of religion on that kind of side, but we didn't really see that much throughout the show, where they displayed that religion. Especially with the kind of things that happened to her in her life, she's probably not got much to love the gods for, and therefore she probably doesn't fall in line with them. Personally, one of the questions I want to find out throughout the show is if the time at the House of Black and White will change her, thoughts on religion and death and those kind of things. She's got her own kind of philosophies at the moment she believes in and she's trying to accomplish with stuff like that with her list, but she's still very beginner when it comes to life and death and religion, and we'll see how that develops over this period. In case you don't remember from previous seasons or from the show or the books about that, Braavos is quite right at the top of Essos. It's quite close to Westeros, so there's a lot of trade that goes between them and communications. That's why lots of people know about this legends and stories of Braavos, and probably was one of the main reasons she went there as well, as along with Jack and Hagar. The last time we saw in the show about Braavos was when Stannis went there to try and get money from the Iron Bank, which is a very powerful bank that also Cersei is dealing with right now this season. I don't think the Iron Bank storyline will tie much into Arya's storyline, but we'll have to see throughout the season. So the show moves to Cersei, where some hunters have brought in a dwarf head which they claim to be Tyrion's. If you look closely, you can see that there are some slash marks on it which resemble what could be the dwarfs. But it's far more likely that they just got a dwarf, cut off its head and put the slashes there themselves and try to claim it as Tyrion. For me, this scene kind of brought up two areas. It brings up the continued hatred she still has for Tyrion and those things we had last season, plus it kind of brings up the Qyburn storyline and what he's going to do with that head. Now, Qyburn's storyline is quite interesting in the books, and I don't want you to go into too much spoilery territory there for you guys who haven't read the books or want to read the books. So we'll cover that maybe in a later video for just the book readers, or we'll just, you want to talk about in the conversation, please use spoiler tags. Now, personally, I gotta be honest, I didn't like Brienne's storyline that much last season. There was a lot of quirky moments with Podrick and Brienne, which made it quite interesting. I like Podrick a lot. He's a really awesome character. I quite like how his connection to Tyrion was and stuff like that. But Brienne herself isn't very that nice of a character for me, just because I just not the kind of thing I'm into. But before the Brienne lovers rage at me in the comments below, I am changing my opinion about her this season. She seems like she's going to have more involved storyline with the actual characters. That's more just less personal and emotional, but more physical gain that will actually impact on the whole Game of Thrones thing with Sansa. Plus that whole action-packed scene with the riding, her fighting and all that stuff was pretty awesome with some amazing action. I really like just some nice good out gore that they chuck in there. My expectations from this point on is just going to be really funny episodes with Brienne and Podrick. Podrick will be the funny, the quirky, that kind of stuff. Brienne will be the violent gore and some of the more serious tone that brings the storyline along, which will make a good combination this season, I believe. So we find out that Cersei and Jaime have decided to send Jaime to Dorne along with Bronn to get Myrcella back from the Martells. So if you're wondering who sent that box from the, with the necklace with the snake, it's probably either one of the members of the Sand Snake or Aurelia Sand, Oberyn's previous lover / wife kind of person that she brought to King's Landing. That's not confirmed by the show yet, but that's personally my opinion. It just seems like too a rash of a thing for Doran Martell. He's more of a cold, calculating kind of person who's very cautious about going overboard with his ideas and attacking. He's not willing to risk the entire kingdom and his rule just so he can get revenge on Oberyn. He's quite almost the opposite to Oberyn in that kind of way of rashness and freedom, because he was kind of, bounded by his rule of being the firstborn. Personally, myself, I believe that, the relationship that they had with the Martells, being the second-born was the only, lordship area where it wasn't bad being the second-born. That being the firstborn actually put more restrictions and stuff like that, which would have been better off in a more fun and interesting life not to be the firstborn. So from the scene with Ellaria Sand and Doran Martell, it was quite obvious to me that the confrontation is going to be more with the Sand Snakes and Ellaria Sand and the Lannisters rather than Doran and the Lannisters and that whole side story with Quentyn and the book said. Don't worry about that at all if you don't know what I'm talking about because you just watched the show. It's not very that important and it kind of goes to a loose end in the books anyway, so them cutting out the show was quite obvious for me, personally. So I think the equivalent between the Oberyn Martell and the mountain fight that we had last season will be either Ellaria Sand or Oreo Hartell's fight with Bronn/Jaime. But this fight will be more along the lines of a grey ending like George R. R. Martin's used to, where both sides have quite a lot of people that are backing them or like them, so like that. So whoever wins or lose will not be a perfect ending or a good guy winning like it would be with the mountain. So the show had that, good versus evil kind of feel to it with the mountain side, where when the mountain won, it was oh, evil won, and that was really sad and had a giant impact. But for this one, it's just doesn't matter who's gonna win, it's gonna be a bad result anyway, which is gonna give a whole new reaction to the show's trying to drive for. So the Sons of the Harpy are going to be a really big part of Daenerys' storyline for the show this season, so we're going to see a lot more of them and confrontation between them and the trouble that causes Daenerys. So with the help of Dario and his second son, they're able to track down and find one of the Sons of the Harpy. But then one of the loyal servants that Daenerys had, or supposedly loyal servants that Daenerys had, that was a freed slave that she had raised to the council, because he was quite, useful in the uprising and quite pro her when she took over Meereen, killed the Son of the Harpy that they captured for revenge of what happened to them as prior slaves before Daenerys came in. Now this leaves Daenerys in a really sticky situation, which is between two big hammers, and she doesn't know which way to go. She tries to stand for justice and what's right and loyalty and those kind of things, but that means killing this servant what she has good, not affections for, but likes very much, is promoted, had cares about and that kind of thing, and have to kill her and betray her children and what she likes to think of just to keep her rule and keep order. Where on the other end, if he doesn't kill him, she'll appear weak, she'll appear injustice, and those are the kind of things that she can't stand for. Now, personally myself, I think Daenerys made a terrible decision killing him. The Masters aren't gonna like her anymore for killing this random slave that killed one of the people that they hired to try to attack her. They don't care at all. And now all she's done is alienate herself from the people who were loyal to her and who was following her and who were kind to her. If I was in Daenerys' shoes, I wouldn't even give a shit about the Masters. I would go through slaughtering pretty much all the people that were against her and just have the slaves as your people. Make them sit in the pyramids, take all their wealth and share it to the people who were below, take their jobs, take their people, take their whatever they are, and they can be in charge of the city now. This would mean no Sons of the Harpy, and mean no poverty and restrictions and problems and no people trying to pressure you to do the wrong thing. It would show that you are strong, fearful, can douse out judgment, would make people in the land respect you, it would make your followers even more loyal, kind to you, love you, and so much more. Now, when I read the books the first time, there were so many moments where I just wanted to slap Daenerys and say, you're doing the wrong thing, and the show is perfectly portraying that right now because I want to slap her in the face of making terrible decisions that I don't agree with. I let this last on purpose just to piss you all off because I know it's the most exciting part of this episode. Jon Snow is a new commander of the Night's Watch. Now, myself and a lot of other people were quite disappointed that Jon Snow didn't take the offer to be a Stark. It would have been pretty awesome to see, Jon Snow being Lord Stark or whatever it is, but it was, a kind of a decision that, it was one of those decisions where it's his duty and his honor for what his own person decides. It's like another test along the road that he has to constantly keep going through to prove that he's true to his word. But don't think that's over yet. I'm pretty sure that Stannis is going to keep trying to bug him to try and be Lord Snow, whatever it is, until he can find a better option, or he just ends up winning his battles through fighting or whatever it is. Now, Jon Snow throughout the series has been tested several times by Ygritte, war, his family, and so many other things to his loyalty to the Night's Watch. And all of them, he has chosen the Night's Watch above all else, all the things he's dreamt after, all the things he's loved, his family, everything. He's been given opportunities to have the woman he loves, save his family, help revenge his family, become the Lord and everything he ever desired, but he has turned them all down just for the Night's Watch, and that's why it's so deserving to know that he's become the Night's Watch commander. Another thing I really liked from this entire scene was how Sam Tully shows his true worth and his dedication to Jon Snow. Like, before this, we all know that Sam isn't very good at fighting stuff. He's quite intelligent, has some, manners on it, but he's proving his intelligence and influence, and the way he has different, advantages and skills that he can use. Even if they don't seem that direct or that physical, they can still be very helpful to either further Jon Snow's agenda and protect the Night's Watch. So all in all, I really like this episode. It's moving things along, it's got some new exciting features, some pretty awesome things for the characters we like and enjoy, and it's really making that foundation for this awesome acceleration of hype that's going to happen all the way through the series. Season 5 is like the preparation for the end of the book series. It's like preparing, setting the stage, moving along those storylines to the point where it's going to engage into full drive right to the end. Hopefully. You never know, George R. R. Martin could just pop out another 6,000 books out of his pocket. I really doubt it, because it'd take him like 8 years to write each book, but, he may come. Sorry about no Q&A for last week. I was really busy, and the holiday's over for me, so there's going to be a lot more work put on my plate, and I'll have to shift around of what I can do with these videos. I will try to at least get out the review for every single episode. If I get really busy, I won't do the top 5 or top 10 or whatever I'm doing, and I won't do the Q&A, so those are the things I will withdraw if I get really busy, but I'll try to put those out if I can, but I'll always try to get the review out for every episode, at least in that week. Don't worry, if you ask me a question, I will put it in the next Q&A that I put out, either for this one, or I can just combine one for like 2-3 episodes that I put together with all the questions that I go through, and I can answer them as like a big Q&A instead of just a whole bunch of small ones I have with every episode. What do you guys think about it? Do you want me to do a whole bunch of small ones throughout for every episode, or a big one, or do you want me to do one for the whole entire season or something like that? Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. And other than that, I'll see you guys next time.